Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Grooves and Motivation Live. I am Jermaine Morgan. Today, we're going to be talking about something a little different. We're going to be talking about the rule of 100, what that means for bass players or musicians in general. So, we're going to dig into that, but you know what we're going to do. We're going to groove a little bit. So, stay tuned. All right, so let's jump right into this thing. I had this little idea. It was like just a drum loop. I've been playing around a lot more lately, practice time with dealing with this Beat Buddy by Singular Sound paired with this Aros looper. So I had a drum groove. I was gonna play around with it. I don't really have anything as far as a pre already put together groove or anything. So we're gonna create it on the spot, see what we come up with. And be sure to let me know in the comments, as usual, where you're watching from and all those good things. So I'm going to see what we can come up with this thing. And hopefully I have it synced right. If not, you'll see me doing some trial and error settings over here. So let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. All right, let's see what we got. Sweet, Cheryl. What's that, Peter? Peter? Morning to you. Almost. After a while, you get crazy with it. Dustin, good morning to you. Switzerland, Zuzi, I'm sorry, not Susie, Zuzi. Dustin, good morning. Macon's in the building. Santa Bookie, good morning to you, Montreal, Canada. All right, let's see how we can change this. What's up, Bill? Jackson, Mississippi in the building. We can go with this. Let's see. Let's try it again. I don't know why I muted my first part. Let's try it again. Troubleshooting in real time. I don't know what's happening. Let's go back to the other part. Technology. Good morning, Byron. Gamaliel Ramos. Marco. Yeah, I'm gonna have to restart the looper. It's doing something weird this morning. We're gonna roll with it though. I thought we was gonna roll with it. I'm gonna restart it. Yeah, I don't know what that is, guys. I apologize. Good old technology. Sorry, let's see who all is here. Marco, Gamaliel, if I'm saying that correctly. Cheryl, if I'm saying that correctly. I think I am. South Carolina in the building. All right, I see you. Who else is in the building? Who else is in the building? Yeah, I don't know what is on. That hadn't happened before with this particular looper. Haven't had that issue happen before, so I don't know. Maybe it could be a one of them early morning. I don't know. I'm not gonna make up excuses. Make up excuses for it. Appreciate that, Marco. Buena Park, California. So I said Buny because from Mississippi, where I'm from, we had a community called Buena Vista, and we call it Buny. That's what we call it. Some of that southern stuff. I don't know. Anyway, man, welcome to everybody who's watching this morning. I want to jump on really quick while my loop pedal is doing its thing. I want to jump on and talk about the rule of 100 as it pertains to bass players. I know that's somewhat of a different concept, and some of y'all like rule of 100. What are you talking about? Rule of 100. Let me try this one more time before I get into that. One more. I'm gonna see if it's because now I'm curious as to why it's doing that. So I'm gonna try it and see if it'll sync now. Now let's see if I can come up with something completely different. I see you, Josh. Got anything? I didn't kill the whole vibe. I don't want to do it no more. All right, it's working. That's what I wanted to see. Maybe it's just one of those things you need to start it and stop it and restart it. Okay, it's working now. That's what I wanted to see. All right, cool. All right, so sorry about that, y'all. I told y'all I literally be just trying stuff when I'm on here because it's the freedom. It's the place to do this, and I can get away with it as opposed to doing it live at a concert somewhere. I think y'all be a little bit more disappointed then. So anyway, thank y'all for joining me live. So I just wanted to, Evan, I see you, talk about the rule of 100 for bass players. What am I talking about when I say that? Well, in business, there's a certain thing called the rule of 100, and it kind of deals with doing especially in more modern business. You heard the rule of 100 like everywhere. People do it when it talks to stocks and bonds and all. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. So particularly as I'm relating it to bass players, I'm kind of coming more from the aspect of putting the reps, putting the time in to actually develop something. I jotted down something really, really simple here, and this term simply says you get the skill from the volume. you get the skill from the volume. I think this was a quote by, if I'm not mistaken, this would have been Alex Hermosi. But that's the idea of it. You get the skill from the volume, from doing the thing over and over and over and over again. I've coached many, many bass players over the years. I've been teaching for some time now. Um, Man, I think I've been doing this officially on my website for a little over a decade. And just so many things that I've seen since I've been doing this, teaching and seeing how bass players learn and those types of things. One of the common threads that I see with like the younger, newer players, even with cats has been doing it for some time, is the lack of doing the reps. So one of the things I recommend to my students is like learning songs, because that's one of the ways that I believe you're going to grow the most, simply by doing the work. And it has to be intentional. It's not enough. Let me be clear. It's not enough to learn a song your way. I'm going to learn it my way. That kind of idea. It's not enough to do that. You have to learn the music, how it goes, because when you don't pay attention to how the music is actually played, and you kind of come up with your own way of doing things, you kind of cheapen the experience, so to speak. But when you're doing the reps and you're taking into consideration everything that you're doing, like the 100 reps, here's the idea with the 100. It takes 100 times of doing something to really become skilled at it, to really develop a skill. I think in music, there's a certain thing where it talks about 10,000 hours of playing before you become skilled, so to speak, a skilled musician, or you really have it under your hands where you can really do it. Well, I say in terms of the 100, we can apply this to learning songs in terms of, if you're learning 100 songs as a bass player, like if you're starting from ground zero and you're literally working on, just say 5 songs a week as a beginner, or maybe that's too much as a beginner, maybe working on 1 song a week until you get to the point where you can take it up to 2 songs and gradually work it up. But you have to actively be trying to learn these songs. Well, once you get to the point where you've kind of learned and really learned 100 songs, you should be very far along. Now, this doesn't have to be exclusive to beginners and that type of thing. We can do this as it pertains to playing gigs, playing like church services. Because you think about the average church musician. I always like to refer back to the church musician because that's where I have most of my experience, is like working in the sacred, so to speak, the gospel industry, the Christian music industry. And one of the things about it, when you work on a professional setting, now if you just not really taking it serious and you just kind of doing it, I play for my church when I have time, when I can do it, I don't think you're taking it serious. I'm talking about taking it serious, even if you're not being fully compensated as a professional, but you're treating it as a professional. You coming in there, you're learning the music, you're doing your part. So the professional part of it really has little to do with how much you're being paid and more to do with how you're handling the situation, in my opinion. So if you're taking every opportunity, there's 52 weeks in a year, so you have 52 Sundays out of a month, right? And so what does that equal if you're doing 2 services per Sunday? You got 104, if my math is correct, about 104 services, give or take, that you're doing. And so you got automatically in a year's time, if you're playing on Sunday and Wednesdays and you're taking those opportunities serious, you're getting the reps in for playing in front of people. So that's why I encourage young players, get out and play with somebody, because each time you get up and you play out professionally or play out in a setting of people, you're going to learn something. Even if I've referenced over the last few weeks about my Johnny's Pizza gig that I used to do at a pizza joint where it was just me. And my idea for doing that was getting out of the 4 walls of my room. Mind you, I was playing major gigs, but I wasn't doing my own stuff consistently enough where I could work on my own stage presence for my individual stuff. So by doing the Johnny's gig, I was able to consistently get out in front of people every single week and work that muscle, because each part of your playing, each part of your performance, it's a different muscle. You might have been playing for 20 years and that's solid in terms of you playing gigs, but maybe you never took a bass solo, or maybe in that 20 years you've taken 10 bass solos. that means you have about 90 more times to take a solo before you really kind of learn the landscape and you really understand what you're doing as it pertains to just taking a solo piece. And it goes beyond just playing really good solo, playing really good notes. On a entertainment portion of what you're talking about, you're looking at from the standpoint of how am I connecting? How am I connecting with my audience? Did this go over well? I think one of the great things, many of you might know, obviously you're seeing from here, I'm a speaker as well. And so one of the things I had to learn early on when I started speaking, I began speaking at schools for kids, and I would play my bass and take my looper pedal, and I would just create songs on the spot. And I also started speaking and just encouraging them to pursue music. I still do that, by the way. So if any of you guys are educators and all that kind of stuff, I would love to figure out how we can make it happen. Just a shameless plug to put it out there to come and maybe share with your students and that type of thing. So if you're interested in that type of thing while I'm there, send me an email at jermaine@jermainemorgan.net. Anyway, back to the story. So when I would do that, I learned some of the things early on that I would say wouldn't connect with people as well. You know, depending on the school, depending on the environment that I went into. Like maybe I spoke for colleges, and I noticed certain things, like the college students, they were always super chill. Like, you know, you can go with some elementary kids and you can say anything and they hype, right? And so you get a little higher into the high school students and you speak to them and it's like, yeah, that didn't land as well. You got to get to something that's on their level that connects with them. But you only learn that by the reps of doing it over and over. So for me, going to school after school after school, and even seeing certain musical pieces that I was playing wasn't connecting, I started learning, okay, when I play this particular song of mine, they kind of like light up. Everybody in the room is like, they turn up on this particular song. And it's just a vibe. I know it's a great song. I get them interacted in the particular song. And after that point, once they've engaged in the song, now they're more active in the rest of my presentation. So that I learned that from doing the reps. So again, 100 reps or so of doing a certain thing, after so many times, you're able to assess. And that's the ideal with the 100 reps, or the 100, the rule of 100, so to speak. Each time you're doing it, you're taking an assessment. So if you're taking notes and you're writing down the rule of 100, the first thing that you could put down is what I said earlier. You get the skill from the volume, from doing it over and over, not being loud. I'm not talking about volume. I know there's musicians, but the volume, meaning the quantity of how many times you're doing it. You get the skill, you develop the skill. And I guess that's a better way to say it. You really develop the skill and you develop the know-how. You develop the do's and the don'ts. You learn what works. You learn what doesn't work as you're doing this in all these different environments and these different settings. Over different types of things, like you're working the same thing, but you're trying it in different ways to figure out which thing works the best. So there are shapes and patterns that I show bass players when we're working on different exercises, and I might play something one way and it's the quote unquote correct way to play it, but I know I will tell my students, well, this is the way you can do it and kind of keep it close together. But me, I have the tendency to like to move outside of those walls, and I can kind of go across the bass faster when I play it this way as opposed to playing it like that. Doesn't feel as comfortable for me. I can do it both ways, but one of the other ways feel more comfortable to me in the heat of the moment. And so me doing these different things, trying these different exercises over all of these years, I'm able to figure out like, okay, when I play it like this, I'm more likely to kind of mess up live, even though I know it. Just the way I'm moving in a live setting, I don't move the same. And I'm like it's more natural for me. And that's the thing. You find out what's more natural, because that's the thing I think the takeaway from all of this. You're going to figure out what's more natural for you. Now, if this doesn't apply to you for a bass player or music, put it where it applies. You're going to find the thing that in that thing. But when it's something that you're trying and it doesn't feel natural, it's not going to feel authentic either, right? So you don't want to come across as inauthentic because you're doing something that does not seem natural to you. So when we're in our quest to learn and try all these different things, we're looking for something that feels the most natural, because when it's natural, I can repeat it with ease. I'm not struggling trying to do it. Now, that's not to say there aren't some skills that you're going to have to work on that don't feel natural to you. But once you learn each skill, you learn each thing, you tend to gravitate towards a type of that skill, for lack of better words, something within that skill that feels natural to you. Like speaking. When it comes to, I'm born here. Good morning to you, Virginia. I see you. When it comes to me speaking, early on, talking to large groups of people and all that type of stuff, it used to bother me. I spoke about this many times before, where I had stage fright. Like, I literally, I would kind of not chicken out, but get intimidated in a room full of people, and I'm the center of attention where I have to speak. Now, flip side of that, I used to be a class clown growing up. So it's like there's this fear of people when I'm expected to be serious, right? Or do something that I have to be serious. Now, when I'm expected to just clown and it's around a group of people that I know, that the stage fright isn't as bad. So I had to pull on what was natural for me. So being silly, so to speak, became something that I could utilize when I was on the stage talking to people, like cracking a joke or doing something that kind of made people laugh. And that helped me to become more comfortable with what I was doing as far as being a speaker and speaking on stage. So now it lightens up the mode. The anxiety goes away because I understand now it doesn't have to be so serious all the time. We can loosen up. Everybody can have a good time. Even though the information might be serious, how I present the information doesn't have to be as serious. But again, that comes from doing it over and over and over and over and over again, and seeing how many different ways I can do it. Now, the good thing, even though I started speaking to students and all that type of stuff around, 2013, I think I first started doing that. I had experience speaking in front of people because it's something I've always had to do as a musician, and talk in front of people. And I took it in class. I took a class rather when I was in college. I think it was public speaking or something like that, where we had to get up and do our presentations. Even though that was years ago, those were certain things I remembered from that. And we always used to have like every 2 weeks or so, or 2 to 3 weeks, you have to get up and give a presentation in front of the class. And the more you do it, again, the more comfortable you become with it. So it's the same way as it pertains to your bass playing. If it's something that you're trying to work out, if it's an exercise. Like doing that over and over again. I even tell people, you want to kind of, hold on a second. There we go. You want to try to get into like these almost mindless activities when it comes to committing something to memory up under your hands, like a different patterns, that kind of thing. Like you want to get it up under your hands. That way you don't have to focus on it so much when you're doing it. And what you're doing there is not necessarily, this is a solo thing that I'm doing with this little exercise. It's like almost chromatic, but not really, because I'm literally going straight down. Next string. And then I go to the next string. Next fret up. And descend with the same thing. It's something I used to do a long time ago. I don't do it as much anymore, but it's something I used to do a long time ago. And I noticed, like, if I put the TV on or something on where I'm just kind of just, not only that, but just other things, I'm just sweeping through that. Then when I wanted to kind of pull it out, it was no problem. Or certain things, speed exercises, I got a lot faster. I got a lot more comfortable with the fretboard, and I didn't have to spend as much time thinking about things as I used to when I first started playing, because my hands are getting used to these different motions. And now as I start switching up those different motions and doing the same thing, applying it over and over and over again and making it somewhat of a mindless thing, it was like a lot easier for me to develop a lot more speed and those kind of things. So all these exercises and all these things, you want to get the repetition over and over and over and over again. That's the rule of 100, getting the repetition in, because most people that I talk to, I ain't gonna say most people, a lot of bass players that I coach are kind of looking for the fast route. They're looking for the the thing that gets them. And we all want to, we want to get there fast, but there's something to be said about the repetition. You can't skip over that part. Now, there are things that people like myself can show you to kind of cut away a lot of the fat and to get straight to the meat of stuff, save you a lot of time. Because some things in your playing, you don't need to waste time bumping your head on. And I'm an advocate of that. Like, I'm all for saving time when it comes to your playing. And so I've created a lot of different things over the years that try to help players save time because you can waste a lot of time on doing the wrong stuff, practicing the wrong stuff. I heard Miles Monroe say something. He said the enemy of the doing a good thing. So you could actually be spending time practicing on some good stuff, but it's not the right stuff. So you can ultimately be wasting a lot of your time practicing on stuff that's not even moving you forward. It's not serving you. Like, if I'm going to spend time working on a whole bunch of stuff, yeah, it's always something that I can pull away from these things that I'm using. But if I'm going to spend all this time working on something that I'm never going to use, what's the point? Like, I love to figure out exercises, and I love currently to figure out exercises that I can put into play immediately after I learn them. Yeah, it's good that I got this dexterity and all these different things, but it's more beneficial to me. It's more beneficial to me when I can use these things and apply them to something that I'm actually going to play. Here's an example. What's the benefit for me as a musician? I have no intention or ambition to be a professional basketball player, right? But yet I go out every single day for 2 and 3 hours a day and I hoop. Now, outside of cardio, I'm just somebody who can play ball for no reason, because I have no intention of doing anything with it. I have no intention of going to anybody's gym and, like trying to get in any tournaments or any of that stuff. So it's like I'm really wasting a lot of energy just doing this activity, and I'm very good at this activity, but it's not going to serve me anywhere because I know I'm not going to go to the NBA. I'm too old. I have no desire to do it, right? And so I'm not going to compete in anything. I'm not looking to be a part of anybody's team, but I just want to perfect this thing. Like, okay, that's great, but what are we going to do with that? Because outside of that, that's a lot of wasted hours that I could be putting towards something that I actually want to use, something that I actually want to be good at, something that I actually want to make money from. So me spending all of these hours, I see people doing it with gaming. They become great at playing games, but they have no ambition to do anything with that. Like, you're not a professional gamer. You're not making any money with it. You don't have any intentions of it. Well, it's just a way of me relaxing. Yeah, but what's the cutoff, right? What's the cutoff in between what I'm doing and what I need to be doing? Like, because a lot of mindless and I don't want to say mindless, a lot of meaningless activities we involve ourselves in do not move us forward. And sometimes we don't know how to shut those things off. Case in point, I have to make myself stop scrolling on my phone. That's the way that the phones are designed now. Like, you go on there, you get a notification for one thing, and the next thing you know, it is 30 minutes later, and you're still on Instagram. You're still on YouTube Shorts. You're still on, some other type of program, TikTok, and you just scrolling, just going one video after the next. And I find myself there often, and I have to make myself, hey, Jay, you gotta get some work done. You're right. You got some other stuff you need to be working on. Like right now, I'm working on a book. I'm reading books, and it's so easy to get distracted with meaningless things that don't serve me. Now, that time that I could be putting there, I could be putting in another rep. Like, okay, what do I need to work out on bass? I could be putting some more time in there in terms of getting better with that particular thing. Or me, I'm a music producer. Okay, what can I be working on production-wise right now? What can I be tightening up? I write songs, I produce songs. What could I be writing? What could I be cleaning up right now? So the rule of 100 kind of starts to dig. And I know for some of you guys, this is picking on you because I'm down your street, and it's like, all right, Jay, you made your point now. And I'm feeling a little guilty, so you need to move off of this. No, I want you to really think about it, because to kind of switch gears, get really serious, I have so many people that I've known over the years. And I know at least 3 people right off the top of my head that come to mind that we were talking about doing music together, like producing something collaborating on something, working together musically. And these three people that I'm thinking of in my mind are now gone. Like they passed away, and they weren't old people at all. Like they weren't old. And so it begs the question, like, how much time do you really have? How much time do you really have? And so if we were to dissect down, like just say if you think, okay, if you write down the age that you want to live to, I want to live to be, if a person says I want to live to be 100, I mean, okay, that sounds good, but let's be realistic. How old would you probably get? Like late 70s, early 80s at best for most people. That's about, you didn't live a good life if you make it to 80 something now. I mean, I'm just saying. People are checking out of here 20s, 30s, 40s, like 40s. Once I hit 40, I'm looking around like, man, a lot of people got up out of here around that 40 mark, like the early 40s. Dr. King, 39, all these people are checking out of here at early ages. And not to say that that's something wrong, if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. But it begs the question. All right, so if you're 50 years old and you're planning on living to 75, that means you got 25 years left. If you get all 25 of those years. I know this is kind of, off base, so to speak, but not really, because one of the things I hope to do in my mission, motivate, encourage, and inspire, I want to motivate you to get on it. I want to encourage you to get going, and hopefully something that I do inspires you to get to moving, because you might not have as much time as you think you have. So if you're at like rep 12, then you got like 88 more to go. You got to get a move on. You got to get a move on, because you don't know how much time you have. And here's the thing. Once you get those 100 reps out of the way, now you got to move on to the next thing, because success is, you having a worthy goal that you're after. And once you accomplish that goal, you got to go for another one. And once you accomplish that, you got to go for another one. Because one of the things I can tell you from being a professional musician, working as a musician for all of these years, you never get there. You really never get to that place that you think you want to get. And a person that thinks they've arrived or think that they've gotten there is like they're kind of fooling themselves to a certain degree. I put up a quote this morning on Facebook. It was in my devotional, and I thought it was really, really interesting. So I always try to share stuff that I find really interesting. So this quote says, knowing what you don't know is more useful than being brilliant. And this is a quote by Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger, from what I understand, is the right-hand man with Warren Buffett. Like a lot of Warren Buffett his success is kind of attributed to, this guy says, I'm pretty sure he's probably a billionaire too, or close to. He says, knowing what you don't know is more useful than being brilliant. Knowing what you don't know, being aware of what you don't know. I think the problem is so many of us think we know. I even have students, and I have had students over the years who come to me for coaching, and they basically tell me everything that they know about, what they're doing and they're playing and all this kind of stuff. Not saying that you should know anything or it's wrong for you to know thyself and to thine own self be true. But I think there's a balance between that, especially when you're going to someone for coaching. You're coming to a coach because you're trying to get them to show you the blind spots that you're missing in your playing or in your life. And if you're dealing with a life coach or whatever the case may be, you're coming to somebody because I'm not where I want to be, because obviously there's something that I don't know. And, if I can look at your situation and assess what you have going on based on my experience in that particular area, I can tell you, like, okay, well, that's what's going on. You keep doing that. That's the problem. But if you're telling me, hey, I know this right here, and I know this and I know that, well, you're not going to be helped by anything I say. No matter how much of an expert I am in this particular area, no matter how much I know, no matter how many years of experience I've had, if you're not going to be able to be helped by me because you have all the answers. And if a person that knows everything, they're not going to look for any help, for one. And if they do get help, they won't recognize it as help. They're just looking for somebody to affirm what they're already doing. If you're coming to somebody and you're saying I want you to help me, I want you to teach me, I want you to show me, but yet you're telling them something every single time that they're trying to give you information, that means you're not being helped by what this person is doing. You're actually wasting your time and you're wasting their time. Knowing what you don't know is more useful than being brilliant. So don't be a know-it-all because the more you can figure out, like, oh man, that's good. I talk to people every week. Thank God I got people in my corner that can give me wisdom. And I want to make this statement. Don't be so quick to overlook people that you know just because they don't have the perceived knowledge that you think that a person should have, or just because they haven't done XYZ and their name is not up in lights. There is wisdom with people who are in your current circle. Not everybody. Some folks you need to get away from because they what you see is what you're getting. But there's a wealth of knowledge to be gained from people who are in your current circle right now. Recently, I've reached out to somebody that I've known for years because they have experience with working with groups of people for many, many years. And that's something that I'm into more now as a consultant. And so I pulled on this person just to pull some wisdom from, okay, interacting with people, and just from your years of experience of dealing with people, what can you give me? What kind of information can you share with me? Some things to be aware of, some things in building community, in building trust, in building a long-standing name, because you've been working with people for 30, 40 plus years, as long as I've been alive, and people still like you. So what can you give me to help me to make sure that I do really well in this area? Now, keep in mind, I've worked in this area and I know a lot, and I've done decent in this area, but I know I don't know everything about this area. And I know there's a lot of things I don't know. So let me pull on somebody who got some years in this thing. And wise words, I can take the meat and spit out the bones. Even if I don't like everything that they say, there's something valuable in what they're talking about that I can take away from what they say. So it's like me, myself, getting coaching as well. And the best thing to do in those scenarios, even if you feel like you know what they're talking about, is listen. Hush. Stop talking. Right? Right? If you're going to go to somebody and you're asking them for their wisdom in this particular area, don't try to show them or impress them with how much you think you know, because you're coming to them for wisdom. And what you know, you can increase more, because if this person knows more than you and you allow them to do twice as much talking as you do, it means you're going to learn twice as much just by listening more. And so the reps now that I can do those reps and save time with reps that I'm doing. So if I got to do 100 reps anyway, I would rather do 100 reps that gets me 200 miles than do 100 reps and I only get 100 miles. If that makes any sense. Like, if I'm going to do the work, I'd rather get twice the result from learning from somebody who knows, rather than to use what I have and only get 1 times the result. Like, no, I want to 10 times the result that I'm going to get. So if you've done this for 10, 20 years plus, then there's some things that you're going to help me with. So as I'm doing the reps, where one person is at the 1 mile marker, I'm going to be at the 10 mile marker, because I'm getting more wisdom, I'm getting more knowledge, I'm getting more understanding, and I have a different perspective than the average person who's at the same line that I'm at. So I can jump leaps and bounds ahead of this person simply by taking the wisdom of somebody else that I've, pulled from. I got the information from this person. So now I'm able to get farther ahead when I'm taking my 100 reps. You know what I mean? Same thing with playing the bass or any of that stuff. You're trying to take this information and you're trying to move farther ahead. You're trying to move farther ahead. And here's another thing I want to throw out there. When you're getting coaching, when you're getting these types of things, you got to get rid of the emotion. You got to get rid of the emotion. You got to be able to take the advice from somebody. Now, this is only for the people who are looking to be helped, who are looking to be coached by somebody, or just getting some wisdom in general. Don't take offense to everything. Part of you not knowing everything, that means you just don't know. And so some things we do out of ignorance, and we think they're the right thing. And then you come to find out, oh man, I could have did that better. Now, if a person tells you that, hey, what you've been doing for 10 years is wrong, Well, thank God that you told me because I was going to go another 10 years doing the same thing. But most of us, when we get information, especially when we've locked into something and it seems like the right thing to do or the right way to go, we get offended, myself included. We get offended when we get the information that's helpful to us because it's not what we thought we were going to get. See, when we come to people, we already have this perception that, okay, when I go to this person, they're going to tell me this. You don't say it, but you kind of already expect. When you go into a person, you have a perceived, especially if you're looking at this person, you have a perceived idea of what you want to get from that person. But when you get the information, kind of like people that have come to some of my bass lessons, they have this perceived idea of what they want to get. Like, okay, you're playing all of this and all of that, and I want to learn how to do that. True. Okay, yeah, we're going to get you there. But you can't skip these steps because these steps are necessary in order to get to that thing there. Because what you're wanting to do, you're looking at my playing, and you know, I got 20 something odd years into this thing, and you've been playing for 2 years or 2 months, right? And now you want to skip over all of this information and get to what I'm doing, and you're mad if I don't get you there in one video. Now, you got to put the reps in to get there. I can share the information with you, but I can't make you into this. You know, that's on you. That's on your work effort. That's on the time. That's on the reps that you put in. And that's on the assessments that you make while you're putting in the reps. I done this week. Let me look at it. Let me see what I got going on. I encourage my students to record their practice sessions when you practice. See what you're doing. You look at it and see if that's what you were after. You know, when you look back at it, if you're going to be playing in front of people, that's some wisdom that I got years ago. You need to practice in front of a mirror. Record yourself. See what other people are seeing. See what they're getting. I tell y'all all the time, this YouTube thing was probably like game changer for me. Not so much because, ooh, it's YouTube. No, I was able to finally see myself and see what other people were experiencing from me. Because I like right now, as I'm talking, I'm looking at my own face on this camera, and I'm very aware of what my face is doing the entire time I'm talking. Because me, I'm really laid back. I'm laid back. I'm relaxed. And so my face has a tendency to be like this. And that's how I look all the time. So I have a naturally relaxed face. So I have to be aware of the energy that I'm giving off, because even though internally I'm feeling something, maybe the person on the outside looking in, or the audience on the other side of this camera, you don't necessarily get the energy if I'm not fully expressing the energy that I want you to feel or receive. So I have to be aware of what I'm doing at all times. And this is something that happened over time. I put out hundreds of YouTube videos, and over time, rep after rep after rep, and I go back and look at them videos, and I was like, oh, man, look at my face. What are you doing? Like, yeah. After doing it, you can record yourself and go back and look at that stuff. Now you can make the assessment like, okay, I see what I'm doing there. Don't do that no more, Jay. That right there, yeah, don't do that. Definitely don't do that. All right, right there, you need to smile a little bit more because you look like you don't want to be here. Like all those different things. And again, it's difficult for me, or it has been difficult for me over the years, because that's just my natural face most of the time. If I'm not smiling, I look really, really chill. I've been accused of looking like I was high when I was younger. But I'm like, I don't smoke nothing, never have. So that whole thing, you want to make sure that what you're giving off, even in your energy, maybe one of the reasons you don't get called for certain things because the energy that you bring to the situation. Yeah, you're a great player. You play, you do the gig, you're on time, but your energy is draining. Maybe the energy is draining. And let me say this disclaimer. Sometimes the situation can drain your energy. I ain't gonna tell you now. That the situation that you're playing in, the situation that you're a part of musically can be draining, and it's hard to just, it's like, man, let's get through this last song, because as soon as we hit that last note, I am wrapping cables and I'm out of here, right? I've done those gigs before, so I understand the struggle is real, but you have to try to be aware of what other people are experiencing from you, including the band. You know, you want to be aware of those type of things. How do you be aware of that? All right, start recording yourself. Look at it. Make the adjustment. It's part of putting your reps in, because it's not enough to play a great gig, play all the right notes. What did people experience? A good friend of mine, I know this quote isn't original to him, but he was one of the first people I heard say it, Nate Nate Holloman, he said years ago on an interview that we had, I did an interview with him, and one of the things he said, people don't remember what you played; they remember how you made them feel. I'm That's just what it is. My first time hearing Marcus Miller was my birthday this year. So August 18th, just in case y'all need to know. So I went to hear Marcus Miller for the first time. I've watched tons of his concerts and stuff online. Been a fan for years. Not a fanatic, but I've been a fan of his music and stuff for years. So one of the things when I went to his concert, I mean, obviously the music was awesome. But going back to that statement, people don't remember what you play. Sometimes they don't even remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel. So the biggest compliment or the biggest thing that I go back to when people ask me about that concert, I'm like, man, that low B string. When he was playing that low B string, it's like you can feel it all through the building. So that's one of the things that stood out to me, the way he played, and when he would go down to that low B string, how it felt in the room, how the whole room felt like it was rumbling when he played that low B string. So of course, he did a whole bunch of cool stuff that night, but that's the thing that stood out to me the most, how it made me feel. Like, man, that bass sounds good, or he sounds good playing that bass and the way he's working that low B string. It made me feel good, right? So people are remembering that thing. So I know I've kind of been all over the place, but it's all on the lines of that rule of 100 that I'm talking about. You want to be working and getting those reps in. If it's possible, count them. But as you're counting, don't just be counting and racking up stuff just so you can say, I did it. You know what I'm saying? Do reps that matter. Like if you're working out and that type of thing, if you're working out sloppy and you're not putting any form into what you're doing, sometimes you could do more damage to yourself than good. You're getting the reps in, but what good did it do you? You didn't grow. You didn't improve. You didn't build the muscles because you didn't target the right thing. When you're working out, you got to target. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to do 50 curls and that's it. Like, but what are we working on today? Are you trying to build arms? Nah, bro, I'm trying to build my calves. Like, what? So it sounds crazy, right? So you're putting all this energy into curls and you trying to build your calves. That ain't gonna get it. Like, you got to do a different exercise to target that. So with doing the reps, that rule of 100, you also got to be targeting whatever it is you're going for, trying to improve, right? You got to be targeting whatever it is you're trying to improve, because you realize, okay, it's not there. I got to get it, because what I currently got going on, that ain't it. That ain't the thing I was after. So, you make yourself aware of those type things and you make the adjustment. So anyway, that's pretty much the talk, y'all. I could go on, but I don't feel like it's a reason to. I'm sorry about my little looper earlier that was messing up on me when I was trying to play my little stuff. But anyway, thank y'all for joining me. Malcolm, I see you. Floppy, I see you. I'm born here. I think I spoke earlier. And for anybody else that jumped on while we were here live today, I really, really appreciate you. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to share it with somebody, because you never know who it could help. You never know who it could inspire. And they don't have to be a bass player per se, because I think this goes across the board, this rule of 100. We want to improve. That's the idea. When I come on here and do these videos, my idea is to help someone improve, help someone get a little further than they were before they watch this video. So that's the idea of coming on here and sharing this stuff with y'all. I don't just come on here because I need somebody to talk to. Like, nah, I got a house full of people that I can go over there and talk to. So it's definitely purpose driven, because I definitely want to help you ultimately unlock your sound, but unlock your life even beyond your sound. Because what good is having a great sound and having a horrible life, right? Floppy says, darn, I missed it. I'll watch the replay. Please do, Mr. Floppy. Watch the replay and check it out. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it today. I just want to share that with you. The rule of 100 for bass players. So if you didn't get that early on in the talk, basically the rule of 100 is the volume is the thing over time. Let me get my actual thing that I wrote down. You get the skill from the volume. So doing the reps, doing these things over and over again, 100 times, literally doing it 100 times, you develop the skill. So again, if you were playing a gig or you playing at your church or something like that, if you've done it and assessed yourself for a whole year and you're playing 2 services a year, then you're gonna get those 100 reps in pretty quickly by the end of the year. You know, so each time that you're doing it, you're looking at what you've done wrong or what you've done right, improving on what you did right. Not always just looking at the negative, but looking at what you did right, improving on that, looking at what you did wrong and improving on that, right? Or seeing what you need to get rid of, what needs to be thrown away. So all of those different things you're trying to assess and become better each time that you do something. So hopefully this has been helpful for some of you guys. And again, if you're not following me, if you're not subscribed to this channel, be sure to do that. Hit that bell notification. I'm sharing stuff all the time for musicians, for bass players. If you want more formal teaching, so to speak, you can check that out on jermainemorgan.net. That's my website. There's tons of bass lessons, all this soloing and all this kind of stuff. I teach all of this stuff that I'm doing. I have done some 3-day workshops where I broke down a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. So like the soloing and stuff that I'm doing in the beginning of the video, there are some workshops that I've done to show you guys exactly how it is I'm doing these things. If you want more information on that, simply send me a email and I can get you information on that. If you want more one-on-one teaching with me, one-on-one coaching, send me an email. Let's talk about it. You can go on the site, click on the link on the site. Let me see if I can put that link in the live chat really, really quick if you want the one-on-one. Now, I must say, I got to be honest, I'm limited with spots because I don't